All of the problems from these videos can be downloaded from accountingworkbook.com. Go to the website, click the PDF link, and you can download a copy of the workbook for yourself. Also on the website, you'll find all of my accounting videos, not just the ones I upload to YouTube. In fact, on the website, there are over 100 extra videos that I haven't uploaded to YouTube. So I do hope you'll check out accountingworkbook.com. Okay, let's get started with the problem. Let's examine problem 11.1a, computing ROI and residual income. So it says the CEO of Grace Company, Nicole Grace, is debating an investment. The investment is projected to earn $20,000 annually and will require the company to acquire, that's a mouthful, $100,000 in assets. The following chart summarizes Grace's decision. So before the investment, they've got $75,000 in operating income. This new investment makes them $20,000. And before the investment, they had $300,000 in average operating assets. After the investment, of course, they'll have $100,000 more, so $400,000. Okay, so it says assume Grace is being evaluated based on growth in the company's ROI, which we said, yeah, that's a common summary measure to use, return on investment. So she's being measured based on whether her ROI is going up or going down. So will she take this deal or should she? Well, let's compute the ROI before and after. So the ROI before is $75,000 is the operating income divided by the average operating assets, $300,000. And when we talk about operating assets, we're basically talking about most of a normal company's assets outside of maybe some investments in other companies. Like those are passive assets. But most assets that you think about for a company, and most that we've looked at in this class, would be considered operating assets. So it's often average assets. But average operating assets is $300,000. So $75,000 divided by $300,000 is 0.25. So 25% is her ROI before the deal. If she takes the deal, it becomes $95,000 divided by $400,000. 95 divided by 400 is 0.2375, 23.75%. So, should she take the deal? Well, on the face of it, if you could make a deal that would make your company $20,000 a year, you would take it. Generally, it depends on the overall look of the company, but seems like on the face of it should be a good deal. However, if I were Nicole and I wanted to maximize my bonus, absolutely not, right? Taking this deal is bad for her bonus. So this is a place where ROI gets very criticized as a measure. If a firm or a part of a firm has a really high ROI, they might not make smart investments, good investments, just because it might bring down their ROI a little bit. In other words, they need something that's not only profitable, they need something that's more profitable than the things we're already doing. And it causes companies to get greedy and to pass up what would otherwise be seen as good opportunities. So I would recommend, based on just the bonus situation, that Grace pass up the investment. Assume Grace is valued based on growth in the company's residual income. The company's required rate of return is 15%. Compute the company's residual income. So remember how this one works. We take the operating income minus, and then in brackets, average operating assets times the required rate of return. And this is just like, look, if the company is going to outlay assets, it better be making 15% on all of the assets that it puts out there, knowing that there's risk that it'll make less and hoping to make more. But when it plans, it says, look, this investment, whatever we invest in, it had better make us 15%. So operating income minus average operating assets times 15% required rate of return. So then that's just the one for this company. It might be different for different companies. So the operating income, 75,000 minus the average operating assets, 300,000 times 15%. 300,000 times 15% is 45 grand. So 75 grand minus 45 grand is 30 grand. That's the residual income before, right? That's the info before. Let's take the residual income after, which is 95,000 minus, and then it's 400,000 times 15%. 400,000 times 15% is 60,000. So 95 minus 60 is 35,000. So using residual income, you can see that her residual income would have increased from 30 to 35 grand. If residual income is going up, you take the deal. And in this case, she should take the deal if residual income is being used to measure her. But I hope you're seeing that the issue with ROI here is that, look, we may pass up really good investments that our company would want us to make just because we want to keep that percentage up. Residual income gets us past that. So residual income is a better summary measure, in my view, than ROI, because it doesn't have this weird really issue related to it. So it says give at least one advantage and one disadvantage of using summary measures like ROI and residual income to evaluate company performance. Well, as you've seen, this problem, I mean, I've gone through A and B, and it wouldn't take that much longer to do for a real company. Like, we could look up a real company and do a similar calculation in, under 5 minutes, right? It's cheap, it's quick, it's easy, and it does a pretty good job measuring performance. You want to know how a company's performing? A summary measure, they call it a summary for a reason. It summarizes how the company has performed in one quick, simple measure. So that's the advantage. Disadvantage we've seen, sometimes it can cause people to behave in a way that's not congruent with what the company should want. So it can cause strange behaviors. Also, it can cause people to get the word is myopic, where they only look at what they're measured on. So if I'm measured on operating income minus average operating assets, I might really just focus on either the one side or the other, either maximizing my operating income or minimizing my assets. You might say, well, that's not bad, right? I want companies to maximize profit. Well, within reason. This can certainly drive people to do things that are borderline unethical or even unethical in terms of trying to meet targets or trying to exceed targets. They don't always behave in an honest way when the targets are so obvious, like, okay, all I need to do is increase profit. Well, it can definitely lead to unethical behaviors. Other disadvantages here, well, both of these, ROI and residual income, tend to be backwards looking, right? They're looking at accounting data. Accounting data is driven by past performance, not future performance. So those are a couple of big drawbacks. I think I've given a couple of advantages here as well. Okay, that is it for problem 11.1a. Stay tuned for the next video.